Hi, so I just thought I would pop on because I've had a couple of clients this week and it got me thinking. If there's an issue that you're experiencing, I just wondered if you've ever considered what your belief is about that issue. Have you sort of taken a moment to sort of think, what do I really believe about this? And in doing so, have you questioned who that belief belongs to? So, for example, is that actually my belief? Is that really something that I think? Or am I surrounded perhaps by other people that think it and I've kind of absorbed that? Maybe it's friends, family, maybe you're part of a network or group, and perhaps you're all experiencing that same thing. And, are you taking on other people's beliefs and sort of believing them to be yours? And are they? And it particularly got me thinking because of somebody I was speaking to this week, and they were talking about anxiety. And when I sort of questioned them and said, what's your belief about the anxiety that you experience? And they sort of said, well, everybody I know around me that's got anxiety thinks that you can't do anything about it. Once you've got it, you've got it. You've always got it. You can try and sort of live with it. You can try and cope with it. You can sort of hope to perhaps manage it or reduce it in some way. But kind of once you have it, you have it. And I sort of thought that was really interesting. I said, but what do you believe about that? Do you believe you can ever be rid of your anxiety? And this client was really quite stumped when I said that and had to kind of step back. And I could see them sort of pondering, thinking, well, I've never really asked myself that question. And yeah, so I just wondered if there's an issue that you're experiencing, and have you ever sort of stepped back and distanced yourself slightly and thought, is this truly what I believe? And if it is, what am I basing that belief on? So have I sort of done research? Am I just listening to hearsay? Because I just find it fascinating. We can put ourselves into a particular mindset. And of course, one of the rules of the mind is what we focus on, we get more of. So I think it got this client sort of thinking, well, actually, have I been channeled to believe that I'm going to have this forever? And then that's the mindset that I'm in. And I could see the cogs turning. It's like, well, what if I was to believe that there is a way out of this? Obviously, I have a belief that they can overcome the anxiety, not in a 100%. And I say that purely because anxiety, of course, actually serves as a purpose. Now, we don't want to be anxiety free. We don't want to be completely free from it. We need that element of self-preservation, and sense of self, to be in certain situations, because anxiety actually obviously can protect us. But it's about getting that balance. And obviously in this case, in the clients I've seen this week, that balance is off skew and it's very much outweighed. And the anxiety in their case is all consuming, and it's affecting all aspects of their life, and things that they should be enjoying and experiencing and being present for, they're not able to, because the anxiety is obviously sort of swamping and overwhelming them. So that was the first kind of aspect, just to maybe get you to think, what are my beliefs? Where have they come from? What are they based on? And what would happen if I was to actually question them and believe that something that I do want is truly possible? So obviously that would go for the same with the anxiety. Obviously I work with people with emetophobia, but they often are experiencing anxiety and OCD and catastrophizing and lots of other things as well. So it would apply, to any issue that you're sort of experiencing. And in that same sort of vein, it got me sort of thinking about an issue that you have. Have you kind of taken that on to be yourself and to be part of your identity? So do you see yourself as being, for example, Joe with anxiety? So I'm Joe and I've got anxiety. Is that who I would see myself as? Is that part of me, part of my makeup, part of my identity? And if you have taken an issue to sort of really be part of who you are, if it's been around for so long, it feels kind of like part of the furniture, if you like, so familiar. How does that affect then your ability to let it go or to not have it anymore? Is there like almost an attachment? Would there be like some sort of separation anxiety if you were to get rid of this? And is that attachment actually, not facilitating the change that you really would love? So yeah, that was a second sort of facet that I wanted to sort of plant that seed in and get people to think about. And in helping with that process, it's all very well saying, well, you know, how do I get to that? How do I feel differently about it? How do I question? I got my clients this week to sort of start to look back and say, well, you're experiencing this issue. It's different, obviously, for different clients. How long have you had that? You know, were you born with that? Have you always had it? And whilst it can feel like it's always been there, it's always been part of the furniture, when they really considered that question, they were able to kind of go back a bit like a timeline and say, well, I didn't have it here and I didn't have it then. And I said, oh, actually, I do remember. It was when I was, I don't know, 20 or 5 or whatever. I definitely didn't have it before then. And it was sort of having that conversation saying, well, before this felt like it was part of who you are, before it felt like it was a really ingrained belief, how did you feel? And just having that dialogue and getting, you know, that little part of them to sort of go back and remember what they felt like without the anxiety, without the phobia, whatever the issue was, and really starting to sort of express those feelings and relive some of those much happier times and think, well, actually, yeah, and I felt carefree and I was really relaxed and I was really spontaneous and I just used to do things and didn't really care, didn't give them a second thought, you know, had loads and loads of fun. That was like just the first part in that process. And also it started the dialogue of, okay, so you can now recall a time when this issue wasn't part of who you were, wasn't part of your life. What's stopping you from envisaging that going forwards? If you know you've had it, what's stopping you having that again?